Hi guys, it's Professor Rant back again. It's, as you can tell, spring break when I don't put on a tie or shave. And I'm back to once again talk about the three-headed monster of the three things that my generation is leaving to the next generation. And once again, those are a $20 trillion national debt, $1 trillion in student debt, and then the last thing, which I'm going to talk more about today, is Social Security. And basically that's the message that my generation is giving to your generation. Now, why Social Security this week? Well, I happened to be, my wife and I went to our house in Florida for the few days at the beginning of spring break. And while I was there, I had opportunity to move around and see many people enjoying their retirement. And I couldn't help but think, wow, this is the way it's supposed to be. People make career choices, they work very hard for the large part of their lives, and then they're able to go someplace of their choice, and for many people that's where there's no snow, like Florida, and enjoy the benefits of having paid into Social Security and being able to collect Social Security as a part of their retirement. Not all of it. Now, retirement comes from a lot of places, but Social Security really is the backbone of most people's financial planning for the time after they are no longer working. So, my wife has a rule on vacation, no ranting. And so I just observed and I thought about it, and as I came back from being in Florida for a few days, picked up some email. Several of you guys have sent me very interesting emails. I got email from someone who said that they work in a law firm where there's somebody with over $200,000 of debt. I got an email from another person who I've actually known for a number of years, who's now a human resources executive, who said that she routinely hires people with master's degree for $10 an hour jobs at the nonprofit that she works at in Massachusetts. I got email from other faculty members saying, yes, we need to do things in the way that we fund education. But one of the emails that I got was from an individual who took exception to a couple of things that I said, and particularly Social Security. An interesting comment here says, referring to my comments about Social Security being broken and our need to fix it. In his and my generation, we paid in a lot more than the government paid out to our benefits. It's not our fault that the government spent Social Security monies on other things. You know, that's a really common rationalization of my generation, of why, you know, our hands are clean, we don't need to worry about this, we don't need any changes. I enjoy and have enjoyed the variety of the emails. I think it's great to have diverse opinions and dissent. The only thing I would say is I would have a request to not make it personal. And I also would have sort of a requirement to be factual. So this particular correspondence failed both tests. There was a little note in here that says, I hope this guy, meaning me, is not teaching personal economics. I'm sort of amused about that. It does violate the request to not make it personal, but that's okay. Game on. But in any case, the more important thing was this notion that my generation has somehow paid more into the system that we're going to take out. It's just factually untrue. I dug out my Social Security statement that I received back a couple of years ago now. The nice folks at Social Security send you a summary intermittently, and now it's available online. And without getting too professorial on you, here's the numbers. It turns out that as of 66 years old, when I'll be eligible to draw the normal retirement date for Social Security, I will have paid in about $133,000 over my working life. My employer will also have matched that $133,000. So $266,000 will have been paid into the federal government on my behalf. But at that point, I will be eligible to draw $2,314 a month according to that Social Security statement. Now do the math on that. If I live 20 years, which is pretty reasonable considering my folks are well into their 80s and very healthy, I will collect $566,000. So I'll pay in well, even with my employer, pay in $266 and collect about $560,000, so more than double. $250,000 more than I put in. Now we can debate rates of return and a bunch of other things that are really irrelevant. And the truth of the matter is, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how we got to where we are. It doesn't matter who the villains are or who made mistakes. The fact is, Social Security has changed very little. Basically has been unchanged since President Roosevelt put it in 1935. I'm going to try to explain it very quickly what the problem is in a way that anyone, including my email correspondent friend, can understand. It's simply this. In 1935, when Social Security was put into existence, the mathematics were such that there were 35 people to be working for every one person that would be retired. So I'm displaying this little collection of Army men. You could tell they're U.S. Army men because they were made in China. Another subject for another day, don't get me started. In 1935, there was going to be one person retired on Social Security for every 35 people working. Now that's a very workable system. You take 3%, 4%, 5% at the most out of each of these people, and this person can live in retirement at the same level that they lived while they were working. Great idea. Here's the problem. Because we haven't changed it and updated it to keep up with the world changed in two really important respects. First of all, life expectancies have increased dramatically. In 1935, the average life expectancy was 60. So of course, you could have a retirement age of 62 and not have a lot of people collecting Social Security. Now the retirement age is still in the low to mid 60s, and yet people live well into their 80s. There's been a 20-year shift. The other thing that's happened is that families don't have 5 or 6 children like they did back after the Depression. So in the 1930s and 40s, even 50s, families were having very large families with many children. Now the average is, what, 1.5 children. And so here's what's happened. The one person that could have been very easily supported by 35 people, by the time you reach retirement, if you're watching this video and you're under the age of 35, and you're going to retire sometime after 2033, when the Social Security system runs out of money, there are going to be 35 of you working to support 10 of me. In other words, rather than have 35 working people for each one person collecting Social Security, for each 35 people working, there'll be 10 people retired. Now, what does that mean? It means you'd have to take 30% out of every single person working, 20 plus, depending on the ratios that you wanted to use. It doesn't work. The math doesn't work. So it's time, if you're watching this video, if you're watching this and you're 35 years or younger, and you're not upset about this, you're not concerned about this, you're not engaged in this subject, then, oh well, I don't know what to tell you. There's going to be a day of reckoning, 20, 25, 30 years when you retire. There's not going to be any money. You're not going to be one of those people in Florida that in your golden years is going to have the luxury of being able to enjoy a few years post-retirement. You'll be working until you draw your last breath. So I promised my wife I wouldn't rant on vacation. I was very good. But I came back thinking on this. I read an email from somebody of my generation basically defensively staking out their territory of, we're entitled, we're going to get our money, oh well. And I can't help it, but it's got me a little bit annoyed, aggravated, and worked up, as you might be able to tell. And look, nobody's talking about this. Did Mitt Romney or Barack Obama talk about this subject during the election? No, of course not. You know why? Because you and I and everybody else don't want to hear what needs to be done to fix it, because we're all going to have to give a little. So I don't want to go on and on in this video. I want to keep these sort of short and to the point. But very soon I'm going to be releasing a video in the next week or so with an idea for how we can fix Social Security. It's not going to be fun and it's not going to be easy, but if we all buy into it a little bit, there'll be money there. So when you are in your late 50s, early 60s, and starting to think about what you're going to do in your golden years, I don't want my entitlement to be your curse. So I'm willing to make a compromise. You know what? I bet your parents and your grandparents are willing to make a little bit of a compromise too, if we can explain it in a way that makes some sense. We'll start with the Army men if we have to, 35 to 1, 35 to 10. Anyway, I think we can make a difference. Pass this along. Let's get this video to where people can see it. Professor Rant at Facebook. ProfessorRant.com is in development. We'll get it up. And I will get some more details about the Social Security payments and the generations and what people will collect and get them up on Facebook where you can see them at your leisure without taking your time up now. So anyway, thanks very much. Appreciate your time, and let's not give up and keep plugging away on this. Thank you.